I'm fucking with you.
You're a cunt. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Paravision podcast.
Alright.
It's Thursday. That
Just gonna
time of the
throw it
week.
out there
What?
that, they've made it a lot more lenient on the monetization stuff, but even then, you can't say but either of those words so early on.
It's the first thing. The first thing I said.
If we ever get monetized, this video will definitely not receive anything.
Oh, whatever. But basically, if this blows up, we're stopping. Just because I can't deal with that. if this episode blows up, I will personally find all of you.
I doubt it, considering the topics we're going to be talking about today isn't exactly going to be long-term evergreen.
Evergreen. How much are you going to use that word now?
I like it.
It's a nice word, isn't it? It's nice.
It's just like a very nice way of saying infinite, right? Or like, theoretically.
Halo Evergreen.
I mean, that doesn't sound bad, does it?
Yes, it does.
All right.
Halo's definitely not an evergreen at the moment.
No, Halo is not an evergreen.
It could be worse right now. Actually, it's sort of just like leveling out at this sort of mediocre level. It's not getting worse at the moment. That's what I'm saying.
Maybe gameplay wise, but I wouldn't say that it's leveled out at mediocre. I think it's just hit rock bottom, and there's nowhere further down to go, right?
No, it's better than it was at launch, though.
Is it?
The game is better.
The game, but the prospects, no. People on launch actually had hope, right? But at this point, that hope is crushed.
Well, this will lead into an interesting discussion about what's more important, a launch or how many people are playing on launch or a consistent player base, because they really propped it up when that happened shortly after Infinite launch. They propped up the 20 million players on launch. Whoa, it's the biggest launch in Halo history. It's just that doesn't fucking matter though if no one sticks around. The only thing that matters is how many people are playing it. I'd say 2 months in, but now with the live service, it's more important how well it's doing a year in, because games are expected to last a lot longer.
And they will get pulled, right? A normal company would pull a game if it doesn't consistently do anything, right? I mean, that's what's happening with multiverses, right? They're pulling it. They're going to rebrand it and re-release it, try and get more people back. But live actions require a good player base, right? And some companies are right cunts when it comes down to. I think it's been long enough video. Actually, I think that word is even too far to actually say
cunt.
It's too far gone anyway. But there are some companies. I think Amazon is really bad with pulling games that have good player bases just for no good reason.
Wait, sorry, Amazon? What do you mean? What?
Amazon has a gaming.
Do they?
Side, yeah. And there is I think it's Amazon, and there is a game that is very recently about to or has or something along those lines. It has a steady 4K player base, generally, and that's not bad.
Right? High resolution player base, so they were ultra HD people.
Yeah, and they're just pulling it, right? They're like, no, fuck that noise. We ain't getting enough money from it. We're not keeping it up, and that's the risk with live action. It's the
live action
to be there.
Live service. Yeah, I know. Obviously, I know. I just think that because live action is something. So it's I get thrown off if you use that word or that term.
Live action is not a risk because it's a guaranteed failure.
Live service. You didn't mean.
No, I mean live action that time.
What?
It's a guaranteed failure.
A live action video game.
Live service is.
I was about to say there aren't enough live action video games till I realised that I never want to play one. Those ones where it's like an interactive movie, basically.
Right.
There's none that are really particularly popular.
That's the one. Right?
Bandersnatch isn't as well. That's not available on the Xbox store. That's an interactive movie, literally. As in, that's more like a movie that's been made interactive. The live action games are still games first, but they're just made using live action scenes, and I guess they're probably not actually that different from Bandersnatch. I don't know what that's like, but I have no interest in that kind of thing. It's a waste of time, I think.
Realistic graphics doesn't make a game better.
Well, that's not graphics, so that's not.
I guess. Yeah.
It's not.
What? No, it is still right. It's still graphics, not.
I no. I think graphics is something that is digitally has to be based on
Yeah,
digital creation.
but they are digital. They're not a real person. They're a digital recreation of.
No, I'm not. I'm talking about games where they use actual live action footage.
Yeah, but it's not the person.
No, that's the point of the live action game. It is. It is.
Oh, what? So the actor is sitting there in front of you.
No, it's on a screen, but it's not a digital version of
Digital.
them. It's a captured version of them. They're caught.
Digital.
They're being kept inside a little box for your entertainment.
Fuck.
I honestly, I genuinely, obviously, this is just kid logic. I genuinely thought that movies were live.
You're a dumbass kid.
What? And you weren't? You're telling me you weren't dumb as a kid? Who the fuck wasn't?
I put paper in fire that I was holding, but I
Okay.
think that was about it.
Yeah, I ate coal, bitch. I ate the coal out the fire. And I thought that I was watching Attack of the Clones, which is Star Wars Episode 2, which has like bad special effects, by the way. And I thought all the clone troopers were real, and they actually sacrificed hundreds of real people to make the film, even though they didn't even look real. They didn't even...
I mean,
that's just the power of a child's suspension of disbelief.
No, that's just you. That's
yeah. No, I genuinely I cannot comprehend that that never.
I didn't say that's what everyone else thought. I can't be the only one though.
You're wrong. As wrong as you were when you were an infant.
you are the only one.
I can't. No, I don't think I'm the only one. I will bet 20 pence that there's someone watching this video who didn't think that.
All right.
An easy bet
What?
to win.
All right. No.
No to what?
On to our topics at hand. We have a list.
It's a small list, although one of them is can be broken down into multiple components. Welcome. I don't know why I'm doing a welcome. I'm going to do it anyway. Welcome to the Barrel Vision podcast. Happy Easter. Happy Jesus Resurrection.
Hope you are full of chocolate.
I'm not. I didn't get much.
I got too much. I have 3 eggs, and all those eggs have bars, and I got bars. And
You got bars?
Yeah, I got bars.
My dad got me 3 bags of Percy pigs.
That is the most disgusting sounding food either.
Tyler,
Yes, I like them.
Tyler, you put jacket potatoes on pizza. Don't pipe up.
Yeah, it's amazing.
What?
What? Oh, you couldn't hear me laughing. Actually, no. I think they could on the recording.
What?
What?
It's immaculate. Right?
No, I
First
just
of
brought it
all-
up because it's not common, right? But it's like one of those things, right? Where it's What the fuck?
I didn't know you could face cam on there. I mean, I guess it makes sense.
I
You're on
didn't.
your phone.
You weren't visible on the recording, Tom. By the way, I just hope you know that.
You wouldn't care.
I know he wouldn't care. I'm telling. I feel like he wanted to be though. So I'm telling him he wasn't to let him down. I'm just on the jacket potatoes on pizza thing. It's like it's one of those things where I actually don't inherently judge it. I just brought it up because I think most people would think it's ridiculous. Because it is ridiculous, but it's like those two things are close enough in the type of taste they are, where I don't think they actually conflict. I don't think they conflict in a really bad way necessarily. Okay, Tom. It depends what kind of pizza. He's just eating plain fucking pizza.
Plain ass pizza, yeah. And then I just have, let's be honest, 2 buttery jacket potatoes, and then I just put them on top. But
I don't know how you would even
the
eat
skin
that.
either. It's literally I just scoop out some.
So it's mashed potato then.
Some fat person
Essentially,
shit.
yeah. Well, of course it is. I mean, that's our food. Like,
The poor, they have to eat fat person food because they only get one meal a week.
that. Well, not that, but we do only really eat dinner, and now I've got a bunch of chocolate eggs. But yeah, it's nice. Trust.
Yeah, I think is I trust you, but at the same time, I don't respect your opinions on food, and I will never try it myself.
Pigs, they're just they.
I'm not defending the Percy pigs, but that's just a single product. Okay, you can judge it on its own. I'm talking about it's a combination of things going on here that you've chosen to indulge in. That's more concerning than just liking Percy pigs, which you can judge on their own. And Percy pigs are actually quite nice. So, high five, Tom.
Sounds like pink. Is it pink? It sounds pink.
They are pink. Of course, they're pink. They're pink and
You
red.
cannot look me in the eyes and offer me pink food.
What do you
like?
What? You can definitely do that to me. I'll fucking I'll eat a barrel of prawns. Give them to me.
Candy floss.
No, candy floss is actually fine, but I don't want it because it's gross in concept. It's just fucking.
It's just sickly.
Yeah,
I mean that literally. That is all it is. Right?
It's like I can eat it. No, it's literally no substance. It's like solidified air made of sugar.
It's like a lollipop, right? A lollipop is just flavoring your saliva.
But lollipop they tend to have more actual flavor. Candy floss is just sugar.
Yeah.
And it's like I can eat it, but I would never choose to. I don't want candy floss. It's just like it doesn't. And in fact, I shouldn't eat it, especially with my teeth, like being British. I mean,
if I were to bite into a candy floss, it would just decay in an instant. Wow.
I mean, I remember having. I'm pretty sure I remember having candy floss and my teeth hurting afterwards because it's just.
That would add up.
It's just so powerful. It just immediately removed the outer layer of my teeth. It just because it's so potent.
Yeah, I don't think that this was one of the topics.
No, we're going to start. This isn't going to be. I don't know. You can call this a segment. Podcasts have segments that aren't like every time. I just mean just general gaming news. Where if I've picked up on anything significant, any kind of tidbit, I'll just throw it in the beginning. Basically, there's this game coming out. You probably heard of it, but you probably don't care about it. It's called Redfall. It's from Bethesda Publishing. I don't know who developers. Are the developers Obsidian? Is it Obsidian?
I'm not even sure they work together anymore. Plus, I thought Obsidian was doing its own fantasy.
Oh, it's Arcane. Arcane are actually supposed to be quite good, though. That's the thing. What did they do? Dishonored. So,
right.
Yeah, that's pretty disappointing.
Yeah. Actually, I can see that. Yeah.
But it's like the problem with Redfall. It's a game that we're sort of. I don't think anyone's invested in it. By the way, but we are somewhat interested in it. And I think we are going to play it, most likely. But there's a problem with Redfall. And I think I'll start by reading the post from the official Redfall Twitter. Because they put this out. And like, there's no like dressing it up. It's not even news. It's actually just listing specs. It says, Redfall is launching on Xbox consoles with quality mode only. Xbox Series X, 4K, 30 FPS. Xbox Series S, 1440p, 30 FPS. 60 FPS performance mode be added via game update at a later date. It's a huge AAA. It's like apparently it's supposed to be the first like AAA first party Xbox game like exclusive in like 18 months. And it's launching at 30 FPS forced. You can't. There's no performance mode at launch. So not only is it launching only being able to be played at 30 FPS, it's also unfinished because they have to add the performance mode at a later date. What does that even fucking mean?
I mean, that is a very scary thing. If 60 frames per second is not something you can put in your game on launch, what else are they missing?
It's actually, it's like people sort of say, some people make arguments how it's like fine or whatever, but it's just like, I think the reason why it's not, it's like, obviously it's not because a lot of people are angry about this, but I think the good reason why it's not is because 60 FPS is actually like the one thing that people want the most out of their games now, in terms of from a performance perspective. Most people, I think, would prefer the games to run at 60 FPS than anything else, although some people would still blindly choose or think that better graphics are better, even though they would prefer 60 FPS over better graphics.
I think you've also got to note the fact that people bought this next gen of console and
It's
they're
the most
releasing
powerful
a
console in the
game
world.
for this next gen of COD, and it is performing about as well as you would expect it to on an old gen, right? People bought these brand new, giga overly expensive consoles because most people couldn't get them naturally because they fucking undermade them, and they're gonna release a game that
Down.
will just it is literally will only allow itself to run like ass, right? Because 30
isn't
frames per
bad, though.
second, 30 is noticeable, right? That's like
Because
just
we're
above.
used to 60 FPS though, and we know that, right? You know, because we all used to play 30 FPS games though, and it was fine.
Yeah, yeah. I
On
mean,
old gen, I don't think we ever played a game at
Stop there. We had never played a game.
30. Above 30. It was probably 30 every single fucking
well,
time.
you know, I mean, Deep Rock it went down to like 20 during, right, and then we were like screaming.
Well,
in agony.
that was on like Xbox One, and that was like it was just wasn't. It was just so technically unoptimized at that time as well.
Exactly, yeah. But like, I mean, it being locked at 30, that doesn't even inherently mean it will always run at 30. It means it peaks at 30.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there is a
Yeah.
damn well chance that, like, as soon as the hordes of whatever you have to fight in that game occurs, or I don't know really how they work. I don't think they do horde, but they might do like.
I don't know what type of game it is at
It
all.
might start getting overwhelmed, and then it might start going even further down, and then boom, you're in Xbox One Deep Rock, where the game is damn near unplayable. And that coming out of a giant like company for next gen is a joke.
It's like it's like
gold.
it is the current industry standard 60 FPS. It's like the most important one in the current like moment of gaming, and they just completely ignored it.
I imagine obviously a lot of people are going to get this game for free. It is on Game Pass, but I imagine it will still be up for normal current gen game price, which is sitting around 70 now.
Yeah, I think it will be 70 quid, right? Is it up to 70 pounds even? Because I know it's been $70, but
a lot of people, yeah, £70.
Pounds.
Like it is. Yeah, I mean, if it actually expects people to buy it when it runs like that, it's a piss. Obviously,
yeah.
a lot of people won't. They'll already have Game Pass and will just get it for free, and maybe they know that, which is why they, they probably didn't really worry about how just rude like as like to make someone pay for a game like that nowadays. Like with
It's
that
rude.
price, it's rude. It is downright
Sloppy.
I can't think of another word. Yeah, well, yeah, and I mean, the thing is, as we mentioned before, that's such a no one really gave a shit about this game anyway.
I
It
know.
did not need bad press, right?
It's only
Everyone was
gotten bad
already-
press. It went from apathy to anger.
Yeah, apathy to tragedy.
Yeah.
It literally, yeah. Everyone was like mid, but I'd probably give it a try anyway. But now this news is like, you know what? Fuck that, right? Fuck that noise.
Fucking play it.
Yeah. And yeah, once again, I think if they can't even get frame rate there, what other content are they just not going to add? Right?
Apparently, it's also it's only you need to be connected to the internet to play at any time, even if you're playing on your own at launch. Which is another thing. Because you can still play it on your own, but you still need to be connected to the internet. Which actually, most games you don't actually need to be. You don't need to be connected to the internet to play Deep Rock. Actually,
you do if you're game sharing, but some things. Some games it will just kick me off because it's technically I'm on Xbox and Tom's game, so it throws me off. But yeah, fucking, it's ridiculous, and yeah, I don't know. I think we'll still play it, and we might even stream it. Really, right?
I think we will. We're gonna do it at launch. We will. I think it'll be funny. But if we don't like it, right, we'll just drop it. But I think we should come back to it when it gets to 60 FPS thing as well.
Maybe.
As in, we'll try it on launch, but I don't see any reason for us to keep it up.
And then we could do like an actual review on it as well.
God, we could, couldn't we?
Guy.
Wow. We could be
and we call like Dreadfall more like quite good
what?
actually.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say Redfall more like Dreadful. Oh, God.
Yeah, that's what I forgot. I forgot it wasn't actually called like Dreadfall. Right.
Is that
Yeah.
what it's meant to? I don't think it's meant to sound like that. I don't think it's meant to be playing on that word. It might be. Obviously, it's just combining red and fall. I don't know if it's set in the autumn. I just know it's like it's just blood.
But it's
Probably. It's just
vampires.
vampires.
Right?
Yeah.
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 But I mean, for me, it was always, I think the same thing as you. Those characters seem ass. Like
It's
they're
also
like
that it doesn't look.
they look like,
Nothing about it really appeals to me either. That's the
yeah.
problem.
Well, the thing is, it's kind of weird considering it's clearly heavily inspired by Borderlands. Right?
Yeah.
It is so clearly like a hero team. Like I wouldn't say looter shooter. I don't think it's ever implied that you pick up like better weapons. But as far as like the characters' abilities, it was like holy shit, they just stole them.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the
girl in that is
writing.
like oh yeah, and like the characters are witty and
Well,
that's kind
on
of
that,
shit.
I want to say Borderlands 2, which is the only one that I like. It not only did that type of writing well, and I think it did it well because it predated that type of writing being really popular. If anything, it almost kickstarted it, which meant it was a much more subdued, more actually witty version of it, rather than just going for all like tropes of that writing style. It was the originator, and it worked in a lot of ways. Especially there's like genuinely fantastic characters in the game. Like Borderlands 3 obviously suffered from not having Handsome Jack. Handsome Jack is too fucking
They
good.
suffered from it, like all of it. Like the four main characters, I didn't want to play any of them. Right, that was like one of the many reasons why I couldn't really stick.
Well, exactly. In Borderlands 2, the playable characters are mostly silent, or most of the time, like a majority of the time. Not they still say a lot, but it's like
quotes.
yeah,
right?
and it usually works as well.
Yeah,
especially Krieg.
yeah, hell yeah. In all fairness, I'm
Krieg
not
and
mad
Sal.
with it. I just only played Krieg all the time in 2. I played 0 a little bit, but once I saw Krieg, that was it.
Krieg's pretty awesome, but
and even then, like the pre-sequel was pretty awesome character selection.
I wonder what we can steal from Krieg for Deep Rock.
I already have. Remember the flamethrower?
Yeah, I know. Well, we'll talk about that and when that rolls around. But yeah, the last thing I wanted to say about this dreadful situation. Hey, that's awful. That's dreadful. hey. I guess it's just weird that there are games now that actually do kind of push the Series X to its limits, which is kind of weird to think about, even though that almost shouldn't be possible. It's just whether or not Redfall actually will. And then, because the only game I've played a game where it couldn't actually run the quality mode at 60 FPS. It's actually below 30, which was Chorus, by the way. But it had a performance mode which ran at 60. But also, that game is actually huge, genuinely, and I can almost see why it wouldn't be able to run at quality mode. But it's like the performance mode looked perfectly fine. It's just how the game should have looked, so I don't really judge it too harshly for that. It's like, how is Redfall gonna look, and why is it difficult to have a performance mode? That's what I'm wondering.
It's honestly, as much as I think that is generally pretty bad press, it is slightly interesting, right? Before it was apathy, but now it's intrigue, right?
Well, it's gotten. To be fair, it's like
so incapable for.
Well, there's like there's like the principle of any press is like good press or whatever. Is that a thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, publicity. But it's like, is it going to actually be? Is it going to help it at all? It might. It's got more eyes on it. That's objectively true, but I don't know.
I think luckily this news would have tanked sales, but Redfall isn't relying on it, right? Redfall is not relying on sales. I don't think it's going to predominantly just be Game Pass, right? Game Pass is funding the making of this game, and this game will fund like people getting Game Pass, right?
Yeah,
that's how this system works. So they don't really have to sell a shit ton of these. This news isn't going to kill pre-orders, right? Anyone that was pre-ordering it, like obviously they will lose some money, but they're kind of tough at that point, right? Like, I mean, I guess nice that they were honest about it. just have 60 frames per second. But like, it. Yeah, I don't think it's that bad for them, right? They're not
It
going to lose that.
probably won't be. I feel like at this point though, it's got to be bad for Xbox, right? As in, I don't. Obviously, Microsoft will never be in trouble. I don't think, but it's like I feel like Xbox aren't in a great place.
Which is weird. But
Xbox themselves,
I think-
obviously, they're never going to go under, but it's just like I would.
think that's just more a testament. So I think the gaming industry at the moment is kind of dying, right? Like, it's just not.
It's not. It's
Good.
not dying because the gaming industry is the most. Oh fuck! What's the word? Le le le
Le
le la le
lucrative.
lucrative industry, entertainment industry on the planet, and it by quite a lot, genuinely. So it's not
Yeah.
it's not on the way out. It's just almost just calming down because it's becoming much more of an industry than art form. It sort of peaked. Its popularity peaked, and then
It's like MCU.
it
really,
started
at this
going
point.
down because of how much more commercialized it became. Not commercialized, just industrialized, I guess.
Yeah, it's just kind of all the biggest like pioneers that pierced through, and like Valve, EA, I guess, like all the pioneer giant companies that founded the gaming sphere are dead essentially, right? Like Valve doesn't do anything, and they don't want to do anything. EA is a corporate hack, right? That just steals money. Like all those shit like that. Every company that was
Dead, though,
anything,
they just rested on their laurels and decided, you know what, we can just
Yeah,
safely
well-
make money with minimal effort.
Yeah.
What's the point in innovating anymore?
exactly. But that results in obviously no innovation being done with any of the huge
Then they
companies.
just keep their current games running, and that's just the way capitalism works. As companies do. Once they
Yeah.
make an innovation, they then keep it and just sit on it, and then new companies come along with new innovations, and that's how they cement themselves. While the
Which
old
is why-
companies slowly make less and less money, but they're not putting in any effort, so it doesn't matter if they make less money; they still make tons.
Which
Like
is why
EA,
indie
Valve, they're still
games.
making shit tons of money, so much fucking money. They're putting in no effort, so it's really this dream thing.
Yeah, but it's not a dream thing for the players
Either,
or
no.
the.
But that's
or,
just
you
why
know,
you need to
the
really
business as a
make sure
whole.
you then go for newer games from newer companies,
Indie
or at least
developers.
yeah, because those ones are ones where they're trying to innovate, where they're trying to make new things.
Yeah, which is obviously Ghost Ship and Coffee Stain generally.
Yeah,
That's why
at
it
the
is
moment, yeah.
widely regarded at the moment. You want a good game, you go indie, right? That's how it
Yeah.
works. You want to play a good game made by people that give a shit and care about you and your enjoyment, you go indie. And you're pretty guaranteed an alright time, right? And Game Pass has quite a few indie games, right? Just kind of on it. But they don't have quite a few indie companies, right? Microsoft is buying out the huge ones, right? Like they EA, they have a deal with. I don't think they bought out EA, but there's the EA Play that's on Xbox, right? They've shook hands. They bought out Blizzard, Activision, Bethesda, fucking. They bought out Rare ages ago, which was a huge name in the business. They were like the real pioneers. Like when it comes down to giant companies, Microsoft is just gobbling up. Like
They are.
nom 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 nom, huge IPs, huge gaming companies, num num num. Issue
They're
is,
playing
all of
Monopoly.
those companies are arse at the moment, right?
Mhm.
Everyone hates Activision Blizzard, and for often very very good reasons, right? Same with obviously the EA that shake their hands on. Bethesda hasn't made a good game in an arguable amount of time.
Bethesda's
as
still
in-
probably the best one, only because they're like not. They're just not one of the top.
one.
Just because they're not in like the top 5. That's like the only reason. They're not an EA or Blizzard. They're just a little bit below that, and they're more like.
Yeah,
Bethesda's still viewed as like the Elder Scrolls
Bethesda is
guys,
more
even
like
though they're a
Valve,
publisher.
right?
Yeah.
Like, everyone still loves them, but they're like, nowadays you're not quite what you used to be, right? It's like,
But EA was always this massive.
Like,
EA was always this massive like consuming entity of the industry.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was never humble, but Bethesda had like a bit of, I feel like, a more humble beginnings almost.
Yeah, everyone kind of like likes Bethesda. They're the real kind of they're the underdogs, but they're by no means that. Right? They're not indie, but they're kind of the underdogs of the huge ones. The issue is they kind of started falling in the same pit holes as the huge ones.
Because they got too big.
Was not good. Yeah, like it wasn't good. It was all right. And you kind of can't be making all right games when you make like one game every so and so, right?
That's as a developer though, because actually, this is why I think Bethesda is the best one, because they actually have a decent amount of published games, or like some stuff they publish is really great. They've got I mean, Wolfenstein and Doom is a great get already, as in that's stuff that they've published that's been very well received, especially Doom, but that's mostly critical reception as well. Because Doom Eternal had like a lot of players and it just reviewed very well, but it doesn't really have any ways of making them lots of money. It doesn't, because it's just not a live service. That's how it works now, and it's only because live service games make so much more money. That's the thing. And it's not like AAA games can't sell. It's just because they've moved towards like subscriptions, like Game Pass and shit. But the games need people to make money inside themselves rather than just be paid for outright, which is kind of weird.
Not just gaming, it's just transitioning to basically subscription.
Yeah,
they've all realized how they can make so like 10x their money if they make it of subscription.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it's like the games that don't sell now do inherently, right? And the games that would have sold now inherently sell for less, right? Like if you were gonna buy Redfall, for example, you could either pay the 70-something quid or the 80-something quid if you want like a deluxe edition, or you could buy the 11 quid Game Pass, right? And it's like, yeah, technically they're losing out on a lot of money there. They're also going to add a lot more for the people that were never going to buy Redfall, right? Like,
Might be a lot of people who would never buy it, but then they play it and they're like, oh, I actually quite like this.
Yeah, obviously, because the subscription based is actually kind of benefiting the consumer as well, right? Like, being able to have access to games that you would never even consider buying and knowing by playing it for free, essentially, whether or not you like it, really nice.
How much is Game Pass at the moment? Game Pass Ultimate, because that's what you go for.
Too much.
Is it?
That's what doesn't benefit the.
Game Pass Ultimate is just Game. Oh, the Game Pass Ultimate is just Game Pass and Xbox Live.
It does benefit the consumer when it's a reasonable price, but when they start charging over £10 per month.
Oh, it's like what?
It is $10.99 a month, isn't it? It's $10.99 a month.
Something like that, yeah.
It's worth 11 times 12.
I think if you buy it bulk, you obviously get it cheaper. I think if you buy it for a year, it goes down to about 120, 100, maybe not even that, like somewhere around there.
Well, even that's 2 AAA games.
That does sound exactly right. First of all, you need to give them money anyway, right, to be online. That's the first thing at the gate. You will always be paying the money to be online. You might as well get that because, yeah, that is literally it. By you not buying that, you would have saved no real more money spending, like, right. Basically, you buy Game Pass Ultimate, you get all those games for free. You buy Pass, you would be able to buy 1 to 2 of those games, and that would be about the same amount of money, right? Like that'd be it.
Game Pass is a very good deal, but then it's like it's weird when you factor in paying for Xbox Live seems a bit weird now. In a lot of ways, Xbox Live or to be able to play games online almost feels like it should be automatic. That's kind of just a thing that we're just saddled with that we accept. But if Game Pass on its own, how much is it without Ultimate? It's like £7 or something, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's incredible. That is actually an incredible deal. That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's actually fantastic.
And really though, like you just have to think about.
Like, you're just saddled with Xbox Live though, having to pay for it.
Like you would have to pay Pass anyway, right? But then you could get that for a little like £3, £4 more, and then the catalog, right? You could whip out Skyrim, Oblivion, Morrowind, right? That is a year's worth of gameplay there.
all the Doom and Wolfenstein games, all the Halo games.
Yeah,
dozens
all
upon
of that
dozens of
there.
like hundreds of indie games, all just so
Constantly
much crap.
cycling in and out as well. Those ones, so the indie games, fucking cluster truck coming in and out constantly. I swear to God, that thing's been like, back and forth. Deep Proc is obviously in Game Pass, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't want to say, you don't want to inherently buy that. You can't convince your mate to buy Deep Proc. Just they probably already have Game Pass. Or
It's
you
weird
convince them
that
to
still
get
comes up considering Game Pass exists. That people say I
Exactly,
can't get my friend to buy Deep Rock. I mean, it must be a Steam thing, I guess. It must be on
It
Steam
would be, or
because
like a PlayStation one. Like
yeah,
it is just it is such an extremely good deal, and it does encourage you know games like that, but it's not all good inherently, because it essentially means
no,
that Microsoft has a say in what games people play, right? Your game ends up on Game Pass, people will play it. If it doesn't, that fucking
Gape ass.
does, right? You see the reviews of games that come out, and there's like barely anyone that plays. Like all these games constantly coming out, like 2 to 3 reviews. No one give a shit attention. But if any of them were on Game Pass, there would definitely be so much more. There would be like just like super played.
Yeah,
And
especially like
it
I
gives
think
them
the
a lot of
recently
power.
added section does a lot to help those games. I imagine because that's
Yeah,
sort
I
of just
constantly
condensed.
go on there.
Yeah, I mean, I sometimes do. More likely to check that than just scroll through all games, but at the
Although
same time,
they
I
do
don't. I'm not
sneakily
often
add
looking for
some.
new games. I'm not.
Like they add games to Game Pass without adding them to recently added. Like I think that only names that they feel worth mentioning get
Yeah, well,
recently
I
added.
suppose that means there should. That's a bit weird. I feel like recently added should be straight up, and then they could just have like a highlights section or something. That's fine. Just have like highlighted ones or something. That's fine.
I think
Featured.
even like Atomic Heart, brand new giant game came out recently, free on Game Pass.
Well, like Atomic Shark.
I couldn't get into it, but it's like
I haven't tried it to be fair, but
it was. I think it's like a Resident Evil kind of situation. It's that kind of gameplay thing where you have to kind of conserve your ammo, aim for the head, that kind of stitch. But
right.
yeah, it's just easier to be a gamer with Game Pass, and having so many giant companies getting basically all of their games are going to be pushed into there, right? Just all Blizzard stuff down the line.
Blizzard.
It's because there's Bethesda. It's just all of that stuff is going to get shoved straight into Game Pass.
The Wizard of Oz.
It's only a matter of time before they start increasing the price of Game Pass.
Well, I get. Yeah. Yes, you're right. Actually, you're right because the whole point of Game Pass for Xbox is just a loyalty thing. Like, look at all this shit we're giving you for such a low price, and then they've got us, right? And then you won't be able to let go of it even when they increase the price. So
they're right, in all fairness.
And it will be worth it. When do you like what price point do you think Game Pass stops being worth it though? Because technically it's
I don't think
because technically it's really high, but like on a customer just base instinct level,
I don't think
can't
it's
be that
worth
high.
it now.
Yeah, that's weird.
Be running.
Weird.
Well,
I think it's worth it to have it every so often, like what we do, where we like what we should is where we buy. If you buy it like what we used to do, is you buy it for like a month or two, play the games on it, we'll go through them,
and it
look
was
at the
like
ones
a
that we
quid
like.
as well.
Yeah, for like a quid, or even if we'd spend like £10 on it, we pay £10 and then pay for like a month, and we just play tons of games, and we just focus on the games that are on the Game Pass, and won't play any of our own games that we actually own. And after that month is up, we'll then just play the normal games that we have. And if we really like one of them, we could buy it.
Yeah, I mean the issue is though is obviously
And it means we got to play all the games, but now we don't do that because you uncle buy.
It does for Christmas. It's nice.
Yeah, so
That's a worthy present.
kind
Kind
of
of.
just have it all the
And
time.
then, I just realised I don't want to hear you fucking complaining. You don't pay for it. I just realised. Like I was like, all right, man, I'm surprised you even bother paying.
Well,
for
neither
the
do
first place.
you, but you're not complaining, I suppose.
I know, but still, my uncle is paying for your fucking Game Pass. Shut up.
Get a grip, boy.
Like, for fuck.
I wouldn't.
Yeah, you had no reason to, right? If you're on Xbox, you're either playing Overwatch, which is free to play with us. Valheim, you in all fairness wouldn't be able to play, but you wouldn't play it if you didn't have it, right? That you wouldn't feel a loss there. But then you just play World of Tanks, which is also free to play. Like it would not affect you in any single close to regard. And in all fairness, I would be able to make do without it, but I don't know. It's just better having it, right? New game comes out, I'm gonna give that a little try.
Yeah, then you fall into the trap of like, oh, it's just convenience. It's just like as long as I have it, that means I won't have to think about not having it. You know?
Yeah. Well, I have. It wasn't since Rust that I had to buy a game, really, and that was how long ago now, Tom? Like fucking half a year. Do you think? Since I had to go like out of our way to find a game because it just wasn't on Game Pass.
God, I'm not sure what the
Yeah, that
last
probably will
game
be
I
at some
bought
point.
is, because I mean I bought like the Black Ops 2 season pass recently because it was on offer. Which, by the way, it's fucking insane that none of that shit so rarely goes on offer. Any of it, it's crazy. But it did.
See
The
why
season
it's
pass.
always on offer.
What?
Like, it should just always be on offer.
Yeah.
Just everyone will constantly buy it.
Yeah, no one's gonna buy it. I mean, I just like Black Ops 2 Zombies enough. But then it's like, what other games am I gonna buy? It's like, you know, Redfall is gonna be on Game Pass. Starfield is gonna be on Game Pass. I don't know what's gonna happen with Hades 2. But it's like I know probably the next thing I'm gonna buy I'm probably gonna buy the Wolfenstein 2 DLCs. I want to just play as much of that as I can. But that's not a new game, even. And Wolfenstein 2 is already on Game Pass. That game is fucking ridiculous, by the way. It's so it's one of the few games that's actually made me like laugh out loud, which games don't normally do that. There's like, first of all, do you even know the name, like the main character's name? Because obviously Doom's just a Doomsayer, but Wolfenstein, his name's B.J. Blazkowicz. William J. Blazkowicz. But he's like obviously you just kill Nazis. That's just the whole point. But he's like the most American guy you could think of. But his last name's Blazkowicz, and he's also the most Aryan-looking man you could ever imagine. Which is kind of funny. And then in
A fucking Jewish second.
actually it is because his mother's Jewish. Like straight up, she's Polish. She's a Jew. But like you get decapitated at one point, and his execution is like televised to like the entire world. And he like cut his head off, and his head like falls down into like a furnace, and then like the good guy like team they have like a drone that's like in the pipes, and they catch his head as it's falling, and they take it like back to like their lab, and then they like hook it up with like oxygen so to keep his like brain alive. And then they attach it to a new body, so he comes back to life after being decapitated, which was just absolutely incredible.
And that's just one of many games in Game Pass.
That was
This video was sponsored by.
This video was sponsored by Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus.
Yeah.
That was the gaming news. Fucking hell.
Sponsored by it. Get sponsored by Microsoft.
Right.
Not in gaming news. But now it's the Deep Rock news.
News. People doesn't have any news.
Which is why this is
I
news.
wouldn't say that's actually true. What do you mean?
Wow.
It's not often news.
I'll be honest with you. I've like forgotten what it's like for like Deep Rock to have new content.
Yeah, East. Well, I suppose I have to evaluate these in regards to that. But in terms of Deep Rock news, and this is always exciting when this starts because we're pretty sure we know what's about to happen. But I suppose they put out a tweet today. Because actually, I don't think there was any dev streams last week or possibly even the week before. And it's always like, oh, I hope that means they're working. And obviously they are. But it's like,
Yeah.
Tomorrow, Friday, they posted this 2 hours ago. Tomorrow, Friday, we're resuming our weekly dev streams with something special. Be sure to tune in, link and time below. Now, obviously, so it's so I don't ever make assumptions really, but it's just obviously very reasonable to come to the conclusion that we're probably going to start getting season 4 teasers because it lines up with the time, obviously.
Yeah.
So, and
If
it's
we're
the
looking
next
at-
thing as well.
Yeah, I think didn't you? Then we been kind of getting like weekly things, right? On like the Steam post, like catching up with the the dev stream. Right? Isn't
Pretty
that been a
much
thing?
with the anniversary stream, and it sort of just and there was a bunch of like malarkey about DLG Legacy and whether or not it was going to stay or not, and it ended up staying. And then they had like that was 1 week. It was like you go from the week where it just talks about DLG Legacy when it's leaving. Next week, the news is that it's staying, and then next week it's the Egg Hunt being announced, and then next it's the Egg Hunt launching. So they just it does it's definitely strikes as like stalling, or also them just I feel like they do want to put out as much news as they can.
Yeah,
Even though it doesn't make sense to.
We could see a slightly revamped roadmap. I think that is quite possible.
Well,
at this point.
my opinion on that matter is we're either going to get that, or they're just not going to do anything with the roadmap, and they're just going to start teasing.
I'm thinking because they're not back today, are they? But if they're back, this tomorrow we're looking at teaser. Just twig,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So today they've been doing news posts every Thursday, right?
It's sort of I just say every week. It's not actually that consistent because
All right.
obviously, like for example, the Easter event launched on a Tuesday for some reason.
Yeah.
Is that Tuesday significant in like Easter? Not right.
Shrove Tuesday. That's not a thing. I don't think.
No,
I think it was
Shrove
Friday was when he died. Easter Sunday was a day that we celebrate Easter for some reason, and then Monday was when he was resurrected.
Oh yeah, it's not Shrove Tuesday because Shrove Tuesday is Pancake Day, right?
That's probably what I was thinking.
And then you skip
So that
forward
was-
to I don't know when
that
Ash
was
Wednesday is. I don't know if that's before or after, but we're not Christians, all right. But anyway, so that
We're not things.
What?
We're not things.
No, I believe in Satan. I'm a Satanist.
Oh, dude.
I know.
I assume Satanists believe in God, right? But they just prefer Satan.
Yeah, Satanists are. Hold on. So I feel like I might be wrong about this, but like I feel like they must believe in God, but I assume that means that Satanists are technically Christians, but they just worship the devil.
I don't think they're Christians because, like, that's not how that works.
So maybe you need to be. Maybe there isn't actually one word for it. Maybe Christians are the ones who worship God, and Satanists are the ones who worship Satan. But they all come under the branch of just people who believe in the Bible pantheon.
I watched a video on this like the other day, like what all the different branches of Christianity and Christians are. Christians are all people who believe that Jesus Christ is a person that exists and is the Son of God, right? They are all the people that believe in that. Judaism believes in the before part of the Bible, but not the Jesus part. They're like, Jesus was a cool guy, but he wasn't the Messiah, right? That's Judaism. I think Jehovah's Witness is some other shit, also to do with the Bible and quite a few other stuff. But I think Satanists, they basically like the Bible is. I'm assuming, but like, the Bible is true, but it's misleading, and that Satan is actually the good guy. I would imagine is their whole thing.
Yeah.
But yeah. It's kind of cool. I don't ever want to. I'm not religious, but I find religion interesting in the same way I find like stories interesting, right? Like like a One Piece or like a story like that.
Yeah, I actually
like,
think that I think honestly I do think Christianity as a mythology is actually slightly underrated because people just see it's just like this like the boring bog standard religion. But I feel like it's like people make jokes about like the Bible manga, right? It would be if that was like an original creation, it would be pretty good. That sounds so dumb and out of touch, but I don't think I'm wrong. It's like still, you could create an actual cool modern story out of any mythology, and Christianity is just as valid as the others, I think.
In Christianity, I think it would be interesting because, like, it's like with the other gods, you kind of have like gods of blank, gods of this, gods of that, goddess of this, goddess of that, right? But with Christianity, it's really just God, and then it's just the people, right? And that would be a kind of interesting thing, right? Because normally, if there's a story about gods, there's a lot of them. But in Christianity, there's just one. There's just the Father. I think is well, he has quite a few names, like Yahweh, and stuff like that.
Yahweh, my
But
boy.
well, we're talking about Deep Rock news, right?
Well, we were. Well, I was about to sort of, go and spin that off into like I want like other events based on other mythologies or something, but not necessarily. Obviously, I want Viking armor, but that's just a given. Obviously, I want actual knight armor, but that's just actually. I felt like, and it's like I think there was something about them not wanting to do fantasy or something, but that's not fantasy. That's just historical. It's historic. It's not fantasy, so you can still do it. You can still do it.
I just can't. I can't get behind that. Like I can't put into words how much I prefer, and I just genuinely believe that fantasy is better than sci-fi. Like I just do not jive with sci-fi at all. I don't think it's that interesting. I don't think it's that cool. I think it can go fuck itself. Fantasy, hell yeah. Dragons, warlocks, magic, shit like that, cool as hell. Sci-fi, fuck yourself. And then like post-apocalyptic, it is what it is. It's about mid.
Well, that's
like Fallout's pretty mid in settings.
oh, that's interesting.
And I like Skyrim, and I'm not. I don't feel anything towards Starfield's setting. I'm looking forward to
I suppose that is like the
character creation.
that is almost a trinity, isn't it? Of sorts.
Yeah.
But post-apocalyptic is technically sci-fi though. That's the thing.
Well, and all of it's technically fantasy. But you would
yeah, it's all fantasy, but it's not all fantasy genre. The fantasy genre is something else. But obviously, everything fictional is a fantasy. All right, there's no need to be a bitch about it, Tyler.
You pull me up on it most of the time. That's why I'm bringing it up. Because whenever
I don't call you up on it
over sci-fi, you're like, well, technically, no, they're
I probably did that once, like that. But I sort of just like doing it as a bit of a joke now. I know the difference. I know what the difference is between the fact that all fiction is a fantasy and the fact that the fantasy genre is its own thing. I wouldn't have brought it up if I didn't already know that. Anyway, so basically, it looks like it feels a bit stupid to do this actually, considering it's going to be whether this is going to start tomorrow or be revealed tomorrow. So
I was just thinking that we might see an updated roadmap today. That was my thought.
Well,
that could be what they do.
Not yet, and it's gone to 2 p.m, which is I wouldn't expect anything beyond this point.
All right.
So
it's just 2 p.m. And would it be 2 p.m. for them, or would it be further? Actually, it's normally like
they usually finish before.
An hour behind.
No, they usually finish the stream before 2 p.m. for us.
Yeah, but like, well, yeah.
So,
but yeah, maybe tomorrow then, because I don't know. I think that would be. Because they could easily could do with having a actual not detailed, but like description of the season like they had last season, right? Oh, it's gone.
Yeah, it's gone.
No real loss. Like with the
I disagree.
thing coming towards Kratos, right? That thing, and the thing before that being like rivals, or whatever. They did not do it this time.
I think they did. It's just more generic. It's obviously inside the new enemies subheading. It's just the fact we've had reports of previously unseen falling down the caves.
I think you need to stop. That is not the season theme.
Right? And I think you need to. I think you need to stop assuming that it isn't as well. I don't think
that area is different.
Tyler, I'm going to stop us from talking about this because obviously both of us could be proven right or wrong tomorrow.
So we should probably get our opinions out there factually so that we can go to the other one.
Well, I think it's no. Well, no, because you can't really get that on me because I think it's both. I think the new enemies will obviously be.
You're always a hack.
Yeah, I'm a hack,
Hack.
but it's still the way I am. It's still. I think the new enemies will. There will be new enemies that will obviously are made for the proper pull, but there will obviously be new enemies that are tied to the season theme as well, and they're probably going to be brought into the game for the same lore reason as well. That's my stance on it. So yeah. And you basically think that the new enemies are what 100% divorced from the season theme?
Well, obviously, I think there will be new enemies, but that right there is talking about the fact that, unrelated to what they intend to do, a new bunch of fuckers have been spotted and they're coming. Right? It's just that. It's just like them being like, Ghost Ship, not Ghost Ship. Like, Deep Rock Galactic, the company, wants to give you new grenades or guns. It's just unrelated, technically. Also, it really wasn't. There's new threat here to have equipment, but you know what I mean. It's just, on other news, this is occurring. You are gaining this. This is happening. That is always how I read that category. And I mean, you do as well. But obviously, yeah, it's I don't know. I think there will be new enemies, but I don't think that category is what next season is about. It's not going to be inherently the Hoxies is doing something, because I think they would have just put that at the top if that was the case. But yeah,
I don't know. I'm a little bit
conflicted
because the thing is, I can't actually just take the I can't just take the opposite stance just so we have someone on both sides, because that's not honest. I actually think I agree with you more than being on the opposite side. So I'm just gonna not say anything.
Yeah. Point is, either way, I think at this point in time they can't do Rockbox.
Well, we know, as far as we know, it's not rock. The problem, I guess, the weird thing about that is that it would actually make sense from in terms of making it, making it easier. As in, they can still have a Rockbox theme, but obviously to make it so they can just do things based on Rockbox and have enemies separate from that.
Yeah, but they can't.
Yeah, I know, this is the thing. It sounds sensible until you realise one of the things they don't want to do is repeat themes. So
yeah, right. They already didn't want to do that, right? Because obviously, season 1 Rivals, then season 2 Rivals, and nobody was really sick of Rivals going into season 2, but they didn't realise that they are until probably around season 2. Like a couple months in, I was like, wait, we were already kind of sick of Rivals, and now we got it again, and we've got another rest of this season.
I mean, I'm getting pretty annoyed with Rockbox enemies, to be honest.
Exactly.
But that's because it hasn't been long enough. It's been that amount of time, basically.
Rockbox in this one season has been around 1.5 seasons long, right? Like, Rockbox is already done, and they cannot now, the next season, bring Rockbox Part 2. It is a suicide mission, right?
Yeah.
If they want their seasons to gather new players and re-bring the community and gather new people and all this shit, Rockbox Season 2 will not do it. And that was going to be the case anyway. They knew that anyway, right? That Part 2s, at least inherently directly after, are a bad idea. But at this point in time, with how long Season 3's been going on for, suicide. If they release a new season and it's Rockbox based, they might as well have not released a new season. Like, it will do nothing.
Well, it would just strike me as incredibly strange if it was, because like the only reason it would be is if they'd already planned on it being that. But it's not going to be that way, considering the planning process for next season starts after a season launches anyway. It's never going to. They just don't. They don't plan that far ahead, which means they probably hadn't locked in a plan to do more Rockbox. They didn't know when they were making season 3. They didn't know what season 4 was going to be. So season 3 comes out, they let it settle, they see what happened, and they see the response to season 2.
Ample time,
and then season 3 launches, and then they start. Well, they're still working on season 3 patches and the events and stuff. And after that, they start planning season 4, and they look at season 2, right? Yeah. And season 3 has already come out at the time that they're planning season 4, and so they can look at season 2 and be like, oh, okay, so repeating themes doesn't work, And we haven't. It's not like we plan to do more Rockbox anyway, so we might as well just not do more Rockbox. I feel like the fact that they plan the next season after a previous season comes out means the chance of there being another Rockbox season is like none, basically, because they wouldn't have planned on doing it beforehand, because they don't do that. Because
if we see a Rockbox Part 2, I would quit. Like I genuinely, there are zero reasons to do Rockbox Part 2 other than there should be a Rockbox Part 2, right? But it's never now. Hell, not for another 2 to 3 years, maybe, right? Or 1 to 2, but like, you can't. You just can't. And I think they know that. And so I think we can expect to see something else other than Rockbox. I think Rivals would be a risky gamble, bringing them back, right? A Part 3. As much as I wouldn't mind that, because I do kind of want them to bring back old threats like that in the future, but I think it might be a bit too early.
It's
now.
obviously too soon.
Yeah. So I think, as much as I think those enemies coming from Hoxie's is unrelated, it would work, right? I do see your angle there in the, Rivals isn't an option, Rockbox isn't an option. What is? Oh, Hoxie's is up to something. It makes sense that would be tied together, right? I do see that, but I don't know. It's gonna be a very interesting teaser season with how little we know, right? And like how in the dark we are.
I always love this part of it as well. I love all of it, basically. It literally, it's like the only time the only time I don't love it is like once the new season has stopped being patched, and then it's like, okay, now we're in the the dark zone again. But that's just in regard to hype around Deep Rock. Obviously, I'll keep playing. I probably wouldn't have finished the pass by that point. But it's like the hype goes from it'll go from tomorrow up until season 4 stops getting patched. Basically, for me at least, it's just
and for me, I mean, obviously that part is pretty like the gap part is pretty bad, but I think it only really gets bad the last couple months, right? In the part where any moment now we'll get some news.
We had that, but we've had that, but it's just been downplayed over the past couple of months, I think.
I think it's taken so long that we've come back out on the other end with just. Well, I think there's another thing in that we've come to terms with the fact that there's not like a steady speed. There's no real pace being like tried for, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like they when we were thinking like, okay, if they were they're keeping it down to about 6 months, or like preferably around 5 months, right? Then we'll start getting news about now. But it was it was about a month until we got news, and that month had no events, right? It was a dark, clean, event-free month. Meanwhile, this time round, event like every month, right? And I mentioned it would lighten the load, and I think it did, right?
Oh yes,
I think the game is inherently better because it had a bunch of events instead of just a season, but it worked.
I'll tell you what, man, it worked, and it worked because I can tell you why it worked by using examples of how it almost didn't, because we just about almost tipped over into people starting to ask about season 4. Because there's been a couple of things. It just hadn't. But if it had gone on, let's say 2 weeks longer without anything on season 4, it probably would have quickly risen to being one of the most talked about things on the subreddit. But it's about to change tomorrow, so it's like they literally pushed it just enough, as in they couldn't have gone on any longer without people starting to get a little bit worried.
Yeah, that's because the people that would be in touch of that would start losing. Like the people would ask, when could we expect to see season 4? And then people would respond the quarter 2, right? End of quarter 2. And those people, that resolved everything there and there. But if we didn't hear news for another couple of weeks, people that respond to them confidently end of quarter 2 would start hesitating.
Yeah,
right? Because it's starting to become more and more not the case. However, as it stands now, end of quarter 2.
Because it's like they're cutting it so close to the point where it's almost too long for everyone. As in, it was going to get to that point if they didn't Yeah, because I was going to save this for another episode, but episode might not even be necessary. It could still be necessary. We're just going to talk. We're going to do another sort of like another sort of season sort of valuation, whether or not they're taking too long. We're almost doing that now, so that could even be after season 4. But there's been a couple posts about this. Like this one I like because it really just asked the question. This was 2 days ago. It asked, do you feel like seasons last too long? For me personally, season 3 has gone on too long. I understand the idea that seasons have replaced big content patches, but now they seem too spaced out. What is everyone else's opinion? And he has a poll as well. Poll options being like, yes, much too long, just right, and too short. A couple of people did vote too short, which is insane, obviously. We can just ignore those people. I feel like he put the wrong options down, though, where it's like, it's like, yes, much too long, and just right are the only like options, basically.
Yeah.
It was a bit weird.
There's not like a middle of getting there, right? Like,
yeah.
It's getting
Yeah. But which one do you think won the poll?
Obviously, I would hope too long, but knowing the community, the middle one.
Yeah, not by a landslide though. So we've got 279 votes on too long, and 424 votes on just right. So it's a big difference, but it's not a small number of people saying too long though.
I think yeah, and I think I just want to get this in before I assume you have follow-ups like comments are, but like I think people are more okay with how long this season has took than Ghost Ship probably is. Like I bet they're kind of kicking themselves like, damn, this took us too long, right? Probably not that hard because obviously they're not that many people. They're pretty chill. And they know why, right? They spent a lot of time on events, but they still as game designers can recognize this 8 months was risky, right? This is 2 months past our promised deadlines for seasons. This slightly damaged. They may not see it slightly damaged their integrity or anything, but like they did break a promise, right? That is a fact.
It was more of a promise to themselves, I think, though.
Exactly, yeah, but still, that they broke a promise to themselves, and those are arguably some of the worst promises to break. Right?
Well, I would agree. As in, I would probably feel that way if I were them. But they seem very soft on themselves with how they let themselves get away with.
Yeah,
in terms of getting carried away. I don't think they're too harsh on themselves, and I feel like this is. Well, I guess the argument would be this is one of the only reasons they would be harsh. This is something that they would reasonably be harsh on themselves for.
They are aware of that, though. I mean, they know they're being too soft on themselves, but they're aware that they are, right? Because they constantly we let ourselves go too far. Obviously, they continue to let themselves, but they know that they're going too far, right? And they know that this season has taken too long. Whether or not that's hitting them hard, it probably isn't, right? And whether or not it should is up to you, I guess. Not just you, Harry, but audience.
No, not them, just me.
Yeah, but like, it is kind of just they should know that this season is too long, and it's kind of weird that I imagine the community is more receptive to that than Ghost Ship probably is. Like they probably hold themselves more to, we should have gotten this out earlier. Than the community is, take as long as you want. This is the perfect amount of time, which I think even they would be like, nah, not really. Like under normal circumstances, I imagine they wouldn't want their seasons to go 8 months long, right?
No.
This wasn't normal circumstances. They got all the holiday events out of the way, and that is why, unlike last season, we're really chill about this. In all fairness, right? Like it took us a while, but like honestly, fair enough. I'm not surprised this took as long as it did.
And apparently
the seasons in the future should be shorter. But yeah,
I look at the response to these kind of posts, and it's so much like bringing up the fact that the content is free, and I think that's a bigger deal than I possibly thought. I feel like when the content itself is not behind any kind of paywall beyond getting to the game, when even the game is on Game Pass for all Microsoft users across all platforms, it's like it does mean something when there's no paywalls for content. It means that I guess it just means that they don't have to be as constant. I don't really know how to put it,
Yeah.
but it's just brought up so much that I can't deny it, and it also feels like a fair thing to bring up. It's just like, but then it's like I don't necessarily appreciate when people say things like, this is someone's response to the poll post. He says, devs giving it for free, no room for upset. Just like, I think I agree.
always
There's no.
room
I
for
feel like I
upset.
agree that we don't need to. There's no reason to attack anyone for this, but at the same time,
But you
one
are
of the
just
reasons.
as entitled to complaining as they are entitled to not receiving it, right? Like, just because they give you content for free doesn't mean that you are morally obliged to shut the fuck up, right? That's not how speech works, right?
No, no.
And yes, arguments like that. Like I bet even Ghost Ship wouldn't like comments like that, right? I mean, we say it a lot, but like that doesn't help them, right? Like obviously
Exactly.
they'd probably prefer that than people in their DM saying when the fuck's the new season gonna
Yeah,
come out.
obviously you don't do that. There's no reason to attack anyone. It's just
No.
one of the reasons that we talk about the game is because of the devs and them representing sort of this high standard of developer, essentially, which means you hold them to a higher standard than other developers. But at the same time, it's like, is frequency one of those marks of quality, one of those standards, though?
I wouldn't say frequency. I would say reliability, right? If a game can reliably release updates that you are reliably happy with on a reliable schedule, and that schedule is good, I mean that's it, right?
But I just mean, is a schedule a good thing though? Because does a schedule stop them from the updates and being as good as they could be because they're forced to keep to a certain time frame?
I think yeah and no. I think Ghost Ship, it's just not how they work, right? I think this is something I need to.
But seasons implies that's how they work. That's the problem. And
that's my issue.
It doesn't. It feel. I don't. What I don't understand is why so few other people seem to see it that way. As in, I don't feel it that way. I just know that that's how seasons come across, and yet most people don't seem to think of it that way either. It's like, I'll take as long as you need, even though I feel like to outsiders, seasons obviously implies this frequency and consistency. It actually implies both of those things. Most games that have seasons every 3 months or less.
Genuinely cannot think of a game that does seasons that the second a season starts, it doesn't have a timer on it. And where they don't explicitly say that it's going to be back then. And even then, a lot of games, they're like, shit, we got a delay, right? Obviously, Halo does it a fuck ton. Sea of Thieves did it somewhat recently that people kind of got pissed about. I imagine quite a few other games have. Like, delaying is normal, but like it's just so many old games that I've ever seen use seasons and season passes and passes as a whole have a date as to when it's going to refresh,
and they are all substantially more monetized than Deep Rock.
Yeah, they are worse in all other regards, other than the numbers there, which is a promise from them to you to say, hey, this is what we expect to get you the next bunch of content for. Here, have this in the meantime.
And that's why, but that's why Deep Rock's so interesting, because it's like a live service game in a sphere of the industry, in a section of the industry where it makes no sense to work that way, as an indie game basically. They don't do this kind of thing, and it's not like they've played into any of the tropes either. They've done basically the perfect indie version of a seasonal model. I guess it's like the best you can do if you're not going to monetize it. But it's like it still is from a seasonal model perspective, it's still worse than those other games. But they're also AAA studios with deadlines probably set by the publishers as well, and that's part of the indie thing. If there are deadlines, they are set by Ghost Ship themselves as well. So it's which is why I don't. There is an element of it that I don't respect in the fact that they did just use the label as a marketing tactic, even though they can't get the seasonal model right in the way that most people expect. They just use the word. It's just a buzzword, right?
I slightly agree, slightly disagree. I don't think it's inherently that it was just for marketing. I imagine there was a part of that there though. But I think it's the fact that they wanted a season pass, but could not think about doing it in any way that wouldn't call it a season pass. Right? They wanted a pass that is refreshed every time they add content that keeps people playing between that point in time.
Well,
That was what
it's
they
called the
wanted, right?
performance pass first of all, but it's like
Yeah,
you mean
obviously.
they couldn't think of a way to not call it seasons. You call it chapters. That's the other one. That's the other. That's used
Yeah,
sometimes. That's
just
the
the
other
Fortnite one,
option.
right?
Yeah. Well, Fortnite's like chapters and there's seasons within chapters, isn't there?
Yeah,
But you can just call them chapters if you
they're
wanted to.
books actually. I think that's what they're.
Hmm?
But you know, the chapters of the seasons. I think the book is like the main one. Book 4 now, I think, or
Are they?
3.
I haven't heard that. I just heard it goes from chapter like 1, and then it has multiple seasons within
Yeah.
it.
Go ask Mitchell. He's in that, and or
He's a
plays
nerd.
Fortnite.
Nerds
But,
don't
yeah.
play Fortnite.
But
People
that's
like
only the
Mitchell
two,
play
isn't
Fortnite.
it? Yeah, but I don't know. Yeah, it's I think it is just because they wanted the pass. The pass was it, right? That is why we have everything. Why seasons occurred. It was for the pass. For content that is dragged along a series of time where you can't binge it out in an afternoon and then stop playing for it until they add more content. Right? It was content to force you to stay there. And not force you, obviously. It's not spoiler,
Incentivize you to stay
but
there.
yeah, incentivize. The less aggressive word. But and that was what they wanted, right? And that's why they don't have it monetized, because they didn't want to monetize you staying there. That's not their goal. That's why they didn't do it. Right?
They want to,
mentioned that
they prefer. Well, I mean, I think they prefer incentives to obligations. That is a good
Yeah.
way to put it.
Well, yeah, they weren't they didn't add it to get you to spend more money. They added it to get you to play the game more, which technically increases the chances of you spending money, right, on the DLCs. And they know that, and they're not adverse to admitting it, right?
No, but
They're a
that's how they
company, want to
monetize the
make money.
game.
Um,
That's how they monetize
yeah.
the game. They don't monetize it through you need to pay for it. They monetize you if you're wanting to making you want to buy the DLC, not making it feel like you need to.
Like, it is a business model, but a very, very, very good one. Very healthy one, a very consumer friendly one, and kind of them friendly one. I mean, we're not exactly sure on whether or not it's working.
Yeah,
right?
I was going to bring that up. We don't actually know how much money they're raking in. That's the thing.
I think if we ever have like a dev appear on the podcast, that would probably be like a question I would kind of ask. Not like obviously how much money do you earn, but like, is the money you earn through supporter editions and DLCs enough for the game to keep running, or do you rely on other sources of income? Like,
Yeah,
that question would be pretty important.
yeah. I had a dream that we had a dev on. That sucks. That's one of the reasons I hate dreams.
Yeah, they always just remind you of something that you want, and then you're like, oh, that's not real.
Exactly. But it's like that is actually important as well, the monetization thing, because it's like they've actually admitted once now, like when it was a question to do with more armors being added to the game. This was in an old dev Q&A. Not old, it's just a previous one, but it's not old. I think it was January maybe. And they said that they said that the arm variety is fine or whatever, but they also admitted that most of it is from DLCs. But it's like that's like clearly the best type of content for them to build the DLCs around, though, is those armor sets. Because obviously, especially considering now frameworks are partially used to fill out the cosmetic trees, so they might want to save those for that. And then it's like armor is like it's better for that, but there's always going to be more DLC because it is the way that they monetize the game. They can't actually not do a DLC every season.
Yeah, and DLCs have always got to be worth getting, and frameworks are losing a lot of value, right?
Yes, exactly.
We're always going to buy the DLC. I mean, actually, in saying that, I'm not sure.
I'll probably
to pay
buy it for you. Oh,
well, he's been getting everything for free.
Yeah.
But no, I signed up for that. I actually don't even know if I get anything. But yeah,
laugh at the port.
The Yeah, I'm not really sure about it, but yeah, they'll probably get it no matter what. But I think if you're not someone that does that, right, you're someone that selectively buys things you do or don't want and do or don't need, right? If you care about customization and they release a weapon framework, you are very unlikely to want to get it, right? Because think about it, you have so many other frameworks, right? Like you do not need to buy a DLC with frameworks. Armor, on
Yeah,
the
which
other
is why it's
hand, if
especially
you want
odd that
some
the most
funkier
recent.
armor,
Well, it's I suppose we need to point out the most recent DLC was Framework,
yeah,
Supporter
but
2, and it
obviously,
also wasn't
yeah,
even it wasn't actually a season one either. It was just for the
yeah.
5th anniversary. So there's
But
also
obviously,
that.
that was like they had like clout going beyond. Like it wasn't just a weapon frame,
Do,
but still,
do you know what I really wish they did though for that? Because I thought about this and I thought, yeah, this would be a lot of work, but it's also like DLCs should be the very best they can be. This is also your 5th anniversary DLC, Supporter Part 2. I thought I want like basically the Supporter 2 framework version of all the armors. That's what I wanted, and it would basically be adding that golden like material, those golden decorations to like all the like base armor sets, like the Mark
yeah. I
ones through
mean,
fives, and it'd be like a toggle or
that
something.
that honestly, realistically, if we think about it, that's what if there is a supporter 3. While obviously we'll be getting the Leaf Lover mug, we'll probably be getting armor, right?
Well,
Like
so
because
and this is like it's
we got
like
the color
it
scheme
sounds like more than
the
like
first one, right? Like
yeah, but what I'm talking about sounds like more than 4 armor sets, but it's just like it would just be built on top of all the, the base armor sets basically,
yeah,
and it would match up with the framework perfectly as well, and you could use whatever paint jobs you wanted. But you still have the golden decorations on your guns and armor. It would be Mark 1 through 5. Well, I don't know if you would include Scale Brigade or not because it's in game,
I
but
think
I would have to go for 1 through 5 because that makes the most sense for
1 through 5
me.
is an obscene
Scale
amount.
Brigade,
Obviously, you know that, but I
what? But yeah,
think
but it's also not new armor sets either. It's also we're talking 10th anniversary,
yeah.
so it's like
Well, no 10th anniversary. You wouldn't be using the same kind of motif, though. That's the thing.
I don't even know what that
Unless
would look like.
actually, well, they might, right? Because I imagine they're going to recycle the anniversary. Do you think they're going to recycle this year's anniversary next year, or do you think they're going to do a different kind of anniversary room?
Oh, that's it's probably going to return to like the normal kind of anniversary stuff, isn't
Just
it?
like normal celebration instead of.
Yeah, they might keep
So
some of it. They might actually keep like, the aesthetic though. They just might not do as much. I'm not sure.
there's not really point in
As
getting
in,
rid
you
of
not
stuff.
have like the pillars. It's weird what they do with that. I don't know how I really appreciate that. I think it's fair to just recycle in that context. Don't waste time
Yeah.
making more stuff like that. Speaking of which,
All right. Now on to the Easter bit. It's all right. Thank you all for watching. This was a good Easter evaluation podcast.
it's weird how close, not how close, but they still kept certain things from like the anniversary. Mainly just like the floor of the bar,
It's different, isn't it? Like it's a different pattern.
Yeah, I just mean that's there, and that's like a continued motif from the anniversary that wasn't in previous event.
Yeah, well, they've been selectively adding places they like to decorate, right? Like the bit with the button that turns off gravity. That thing's always got stuff hanging from, right? Like that's always got like a cluster of shit
Yeah.
dangling down. Obviously, there's usually a banner at the Abyss Bar, but that's been around. Right? But yeah, they're just kind of finding places where they like adding.
Yeah. It's like
And they just do that.
basically this is one of the reasons why I take some issue with the getting carried away thing, mainly because of the 5th anniversary, where it's like, oh, we got carried away again. It's just like, okay, cool, you got carried away, but the decorations are too much. You got carried away in a way that didn't make sense. It's too much here, and I feel like this Easter event is actually probably the right amount, if not maybe. I mean, I shouldn't say that. I should say the maximum. This sort of represents the most there should be in terms of decorations.
Yeah.
Don't go beyond this.
I still think it's kind of going to be a bit. I don't know. Like next season, if they kind of have to have hub decorations in for the season, then right, because people are used to a lot, right? Like people, you but you see on the Reddit, people that were like playing during like the anniversary event, and then like it turned off mid them playing, and they walk out into like the quotation marks empty hub, right? And like with all
Yeah.
the decorations gone, and what they're gonna be like when there isn't a season decorations either, and how truly empty the hub could be. I don't think people will be prepared for that, and they will actually kick off. I think
You'll kick
genuinely,
off.
I genuinely think there will be a Reddit post that will blow up, and it will become a whole thing, and they'll have to make a video on if there is no decorations in the hub, just for passively, like for seasonal stuff. Like I
That's
think people would not be able.
possible.
People
Maybe.
would not be able to deal with how barren the hub will be, if there isn't seasonal decorations in. Um,
What?
if you got rid of all the Rockbox stuff, I think people would be like, what the fuck? Like people have gotten way too used to, and I'd arguably say the same. Just having lots of things always kind of be there, and like interact with and just look at. Right,
Uh
get rid of the Rockbox stuff. People will riot. Yeah.
huh. Riot. I don't know about that.
We'll see.
Well, will we? Will we?
Well, I think they'll add new decorations for the seasonal thing. They're going to do that from now.
Mm.
Especially since at this point, I imagine the department I think may just come down to like 2-3 people, are like explicitly constantly just adding to the rig. Right, they're becoming like experts in that particular field. So
Yeah.
just get them on the job of decorating it every season. Job done. But yeah, I don't know.
I want to talk about the hat because that was funny, right? Okay, so I want to talk about the hats because they always do. I'll probably complain about them, but I want to say there's 2 eggshell hats now, right? And I guess I should probably just explain before I say anything other than the explanation. We've got 2 eggshell hats now. One of them was added last year for the Easter event, and that was like sort of just sort of pastel colours on the egg. That's better to describe it. This one is now bright red stripes, the one we got this time. And it's sort of just like, I actually don't hate the idea of just sort of modifying a very similar hat each time. Especially in this context. It actually makes a lot of sense. There's still other stuff I'd rather they did with these cosmetics, but I saw that red striped egg hat and I thought, I've worn this before. And I have, and it replaced the original eggshell hat for a while, like a couple months before this Easter event. And I have to wonder, am I the only one this happened to, or did just no one notice?
Do you like approve?
No. I'm so
Think
annoyed.
it wouldn't be in any recording.
It could be. It could be, obviously, right? And in fact, there's a good chance that it would be in a recording because I would, just I don't even need to put it on, rolling through the headgears. So there's a good chance we have proof. That wouldn't actually prove that it wasn't just me, but why would it just be me? That is insane. But it's also, how did no one else notice? But I didn't notice up until I saw that this was the new hat. I was like, huh? I've got that. And then I look in my wardrobe, I was like, wait a minute. That was so bizarre. I have no knowledge of any of this.
Yeah.
This is so bizarre. But that shouldn't be able to.
Weird ass thing.
Yeah, that.
Like how like loot bug level wasn't possible to be gathered. The what was the hat that vanished?
A lot of
Crown,
hats
paper
vanish.
crown
Oh yeah, the
hats.
paper crown. Yeah.
No.
It's a similar situation to that, and it's because I guess in a lot of ways they are the same hat. Like even at one point, I guess the internal ID of the item got swapped. That's what I have to assume happened, and I just feel like that shouldn't be able to happen. So that's interesting. But in terms of hats, there's hats because you can get the old hats, but obviously in all of these events, you can just
You
claim.
get to do that. Actually.
You can same, but it's like not like you're gonna get anything new from it, but you can claim every previous cosmetic from that event, right? For Christmas, Halloween, all of them except anniversary. But this time around, they added an assignment to get the previous year's hats, and this talking about this annoys me for a lot of reasons, because it's called, the assignment's called like last year's spring fashion, right? And it's like, okay, that works because there's only actually been one Easter event so far, but it's not done in a genericized way where they could call the Halloween one the same thing, right? Unless it is just for last year. But there's more than just last year's to get from Halloween. So is this assignment, are we going to have this assignment for every event, and will it give every previous hat, or will it only give last year's one? And does that mean they're actually introducing FOMO to these events? Because technically they are. Actually, technically they are, because if you didn't do the last one, and you don't do this assignment, you won't get the hats from last year.
Yeah.
So they're technically introducing a level of FOMO, but will this assignment be present for the other events, and will it also include all previous years? I assume it will, because I don't think they would double up on the FOMO. But in general, the addition of another assignment for the event is actually a very good one. Personally, because I'm a bitch, I wish it was like split in the 2 weeks, because I'm an asshole.
Yeah. They don't like doing that though, apparently. Like they want people to play for more prolonged periods of time, but they so enjoy just giving you everything immediately, right?
Yeah.
We want to kind of, keep you along, keep you playing for an extended period of time, but we will refuse to just spread out these assignments instead of just like literally just remember those 2 parts to the Rockpox one, right? And they, instead of part 1 immediately and then part 2 like a couple months down the line, they just did both immediately right there. So there was no good reason to split it in 2, just for the fun of it, for the shigs and kickles.
Yeah, so technically it's like, it is technically introducing FOMO to the event, because now it's like you have to do it to get the last year's ones if you weren't there last year. But aside from that, I just appreciate having more assignments to do. So I have no problem with it. And it does actually, genuinely, it does substantiate the event. And I think they're actually obviously they're in the best place they've ever been now, obviously, because now we've got another assignment on top of it. And we have the double performance points things. On the subject of which, there's bunnies. And obviously we are overjoyed at the full embracing of the gag. Because it's so obviously a gag, and I appreciate that. Because Deep Rock, a game that is just like a loop like that, is begging to be gagged. What? No, it's like that type of game just demands gags. Running gags are perfect for a game like this, and they've got a really clear one now. And I'm so glad, because I feel like they kept up enough for it. Like, okay, this is a thing now. Obviously, we kind of have to wait for like the next for it to repeat. Like Christmas, I guess, will be the next one if they're not going to do Oktoberfest, because it hasn't come back around on the same. Yeah, they didn't actually do a Halloween one, so we'll have to wait to see if it repeats. But so far, it seems like they fully embraced it, and I love it. And it does also mean we get new, obviously, mission control voice lines for these events as well. And it seems trivial, but the bunny is good, because I think these ones, even though some people get annoyed with them, it's like these ones are better than the things you just pick up and just put in the meal. They are. It's like, it's not a lot, but it's better.
I don't know what happened to eyeing it to the back, right? Like was that actually a thing?
That wasn't a thing for any of those. That wasn't everything for any of those things. That's just.
I think
That's just the Hearthstone and the data cell. That's it.
Right.
But pretty funny that happens on the 2 worst mission types, and that's it. Not that that's the bad part. I actually really liked that. I like the idea of just scrapping things to Molly because they don't fit. And That's a bit
Well,
weird.
it's like infinite storage inside, but there's only so much of a gap that you can
It's like
shove it in.
you can
so-
fit if it fits in the gap, it can fit inside. It's sounding a bit dodgy, but if it can't get through in the actual like the holes, it has to stay on the outside.
Yeah.
But if it can get in, there's an infinite amount of storage in there. That's just ridiculous. It's like just like a magic pouch, but it's like it can't be opened any wider.
Infinite amount of
Stupid Molly.
small.
Yeah. But I remember the elf one where it was like he said that it's not supposed to be moving or whatever.
That was so fucking good. Oh my god. Like, let's be realistic. They went too far, but still, the Christmas one has probably been the best event so far.
I appreciate
was-
getting that pickaxe. I'll be honest, the pickaxe is good.
Pickaxe
And
was nice.
killing
I mean,
elves.
yeah, an armor set was fun. Something, right? I mean, they did go
It,
too far.
it's in that category,
But-
but I don't consider it an armor set for a few reasons. Mostly because you can't paint it. It's just, in my opinion, it's just a costume. So it's just like, oh, you're an elf now. That's it. You can't change anything about it. It's just a costume. That's how I see it, even though it's in the armor set category. So, I mean, what would you have gotten this time? It would be like like a bunny outfit.
A onesie or something.
I was thinking the onesie, and that's how they would avoid, certain arenas. What do you mean there's so many?
I shouldn't say this, but like I'm on the content creator and like mod.
What are you gonna say? You were on the deep Galactic, like the NSFW subreddit?
No, I mean I am on that sometimes.
Huh?
Sorry, did you hear a knock there?
Me?
Yeah.
No.
The content creator and mods channel, and so on there you see people being added, like the content creators, and there are so many furries that are content creators, and I don't know what to think about that. I think it's predominantly Twitch, because a lot of people on Twitch have like animal profile pictures, but not profile pictures. 'Cause there are female tubers as well. And the point is that there was a knock at the door. Yeah. What is? Yeah. And
Great.
They would quite like a furry costume, I would imagine.
As far as we know, they're not going to do that though, are they? As far as we know, haven't they said something about that? They're just not going to entertain specific groups of people in that way of in-game
I don't recall them
content.
saying that, but I feel like they would say so.
It would be very like generic, it wouldn't be targeted, obviously, because I don't think they should. But it's like we're not going to do that because that's weird of us to do in the game, and unfortunately, a lot of people disapprove of that, and they would actually take issue with Ghost Ship for adding something like that to the game as well. And it would
They're already
technically be
playing it a
pandering.
bit close with some of the headgears and that. Like the New Year's Easter head was pretty like enough, I imagine.
Who the what?
Like the bunny head.
Yeah, I
from
wouldn't say New
Year's.
Year's. I don't know where that's coming from. That's threw me off a little bit. Just the bunny ears. Yeah. But also,
No, the Chinese
oh,
New Year's.
shit. But no, I don't see. Well, I mean, maybe they did, but I can't sympathise with that. Like, that's just a hat. That is just a hat. It's on top of the head. On top of. Not a mask.
Yeah, but when you're taking something off, where would it go?
Huh?
Like, you just take it off and it would be on the top of your head. They could easily play it. Point is, I don't want to talk about this anymore.
No. I do think it's funny though that obviously, I guess the Easter event you probably could say it was inevitable, but it's like who really needs more double performance points?
No No, there's no one. In
Which is
the,
why I
no
think
one
it's starting.
universe.
This is starting to get brought up a little bit, like the season, like where season 4 and whatnot. It's just like most people will have finished the pass by now.
I want people. I think.
I want those stats.
Can you make this post? Because you'll
Probably.
be able to gather this out. Can you mention performance pass level?
Should I just put a poll about how many people finished it?
No, that's not useful. Everyone would have finished it. But it's how far people have gone past that at this point. Because I would not be surprised if there is some motherfucker sitting at 500.
So you want so it shouldn't be a poll. You just want to just know about.
Yeah, I mean, you could do a poll of like 0 to 100, 100 to 200, shit like that, right? Or like 100 to 150.
It wouldn't be how far are you. It'd be what is your current performance pass level?
Yeah.
What are y'all's current pass level?
And you can make it a poll if you want, and it'll be like 0 to 100 for anyone that hasn't finished the pass. You will still learn that information. Then 100 to and then something.
I want to see how far people are getting over 100.
Whatever the final tier is like that and infinitely above.
Yeah. Okay. How do I do a poll? Oh, right. Option 1. So the first option should literally be 0 to 100.
Yeah. Now, first option is everyone that hasn't finished the pass. Or is just finished.
Okay, 0 to 99 then. Then I'll do 100 to 200. I'll go up to 500, I think.
500 plus.
Then I guess there'll be 6 options that's maxed out, isn't it? That's how many you can do, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So that'll be 500 plus. Yeah, this will be interesting, and we'll get back to you on this tomorrow.
Well, yeah.
But for now, that is all from the Barrel Vision podcast for this week. I assume next week could be pretty hot. I imagine. Maybe. And assuming we get another teaser on that Thursday. Either way, I don't see us not. I guess I feel like next week's probably going to be the enemy bingo anyway, because we'll see what happens tomorrow. We don't know. We'll talk about things. I don't know how that's going to line up with the stream. It'll probably happen on stream. I hope we'd be. I want to try maybe have been streaming for long enough where we could stop when that teaser comes out and to actually do a proper news video. I don't know. We'll just see how it goes. But either way, I don't want to use the term kick off because I do that often, but something's going to start. The oven has been turned on and it's heating up. Doesn't mean it's going to be like ready to cook straight away, but no.
But yeah, we're going to see. Well, we could be looking at, if this is something that we could be noticing a pattern, which will be nice for going this forward. The first,
if it contains a release date,
a really we already, I guess, a singular date and a blurred
version of the key art. There you go.
Version of the key art. We could expect to see something like that like last season.
I really hope so.
If we get that again, that would be a cool thing, because essentially that's them saying this is what we're going to do at the beginning of every one, and I think that's a pretty cool thing to have down. I realized recently, and this is not exactly relevant, but I like structure. I like that kind of stuff. So I'll be quite chuffed if they.
You're gonna love me. What?
Oh my. Yeah, I'd be quite chuffed if they have like a set first post for us to kind of go off.
It has been. It happened for season 2 and season 3, and then season 1. It wasn't the key art, but it was like a shrouded picture of, like, it was like the caretaker, but like shrouded in darkness. So you couldn't really tell what it exactly was, and it had the release date on it.
So they always make sure you can't tell, really.
Yeah.
But you can gather it a little bit.
Yeah.
So last time I really went off a limb and thought, that's it, Corsic Maya, guarantee.
Well, honestly, I think season 2 was the coolest one, because that was like the picture, like the actual art, but with the nemesis completely removed. And it had like the dates like hidden in like the underneath the ice. That was the best one.
I mean, this one, yeah, like the dates, like slightly, like it's like on the mask that you can see.
Yeah, but it was still
like,
just written out
inside.
like right there.
Yeah,
But I still like using the mask as like the framing device. That was pretty cool. Like to hide the key art. That was actually really cool. So I do want to see that again, just because it's always interesting. Like we could pick it apart and whatnot. Yeah, it's always good.
yeah, we might see that tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. And
Don't get your hopes up, but you should, because there's something happening tomorrow. Because
probably be streaming while that would occur, I would imagine. Right?
what will? Yeah, we'll just see how that goes. I mean, we might. I don't know.
Both keep an eye on it, obviously.
Pick it apart on stream, maybe, but still do a news video. Either way, that is all. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this, please make sure to like, subscribe, and go buy yourself a Subway. You deserve it.
Do that.
Why not?
Don't buy Subway.
Oh, sorry. Okay, actually, no. I didn't mean that. Subway.
Have a nondescript brand that is better than Subway.
Papa John's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just, not. Remember, you're not supporting Papa John the person.
Because I actually have an account, because you shouldn't have an account for these things. So you get points. I got a free large pizza the other day.
Nice. I bet you Tom's dumb enough to not have that, right?
I've had it for a while. I had it for too long. I didn't have one for too long. It was really dumb. Yeah, you should.
So that's what you should do. Go get a Papa John's.
That's our piece of advice. Make an account. If you can make an account for like ordering food, stuff like that for like a chain restaurant, do it. It will benefit you.
It's kind of how they get you, but if you notice you already buy regularly from them, you might.
It doesn't get you. How does it get you though? You don't have to pay for it. It's not a subscription.
No, but it's the fact that they it's like the same with the like free coffee after 10 stamps, right? It guarantees that you come back because you have an incentive to. Right? Instead of going to a different restaurant, you'll go to Papa John's because it adds points, so you can get a free one. Down the line,
the incentive,
right?
Yeah, but there's always the incentive to get Papa John's, given it's like easily the best pizza in England. Which probably that might sound like dystopian to Americans, especially New Yorkers, and it probably is. But Papa John's is by far the best pizza you can get in England. I will bet money on this.
So far, I would agree. Although, in all fairness, local corner shop type pizzas are actually not bad. I think we have pretty good standards of pizzas in the UK, generally. As long as you don't go to Pizza Hut.
Yeah.
Never go to Pizza Hut. That's our other pizza advice for today. Don't go to Pizza Hut.
Got any more pizza advice? I've got some pizza advice. Go watch something else now. We're done. Bye.